Good day, everyone. So I'm June Latigay, and I'm one of the reporters for Module 2, Models and Approaches in Communication for Development. So, particularly, I'll be covering two topics, networking or linkaging and alliance building, and the second one is participatory action research or participatory research. So, let's proceed with the first one, networking or linkaging and alliance building. So, networking is defined as the exchange of information and ideas among people with a common profession or special interest, usually in an informal setting. It is a strategy of communication, of community. Sorry, it is a strategy of community organizing aimed to enhance the strength of one's position, most especially in advocating a cause or a socially desirable action or program. For professionals, the best networking opportunities may occur at trade shows, seminars, conferences, or whichever attract large crowds of like minded individuals. Also, networking helps a professional keep up with the current events and in the field and develop relationships that may boost future business or employment prospects. So, on the development side, networking helps professionals connect with people who have the same interests and boost development goals. Um, Needless to say, networking provides opportunities to help other people connect with those who have the same interests, goals, or objectives. So, networking could either be face to face, just like in conferences, seminars, trainings, but with the advent of technology, networking has already is already proliferation or is already dominant as well in the digital space. So we already have LinkedIn, X, and Facebook. So most professionals connect through LinkedIn. So it provides an online location for people. LinkedIn provides an online location for people to engage with other professionals, join groups, post blogs, and share information, which can also be done through X and Facebook. So there are two kinds in the Philippine setting, there are two kinds of alliances or organizations, public organizations and private organizations. So public organizations, these are entities owned, controlled and operated by the government and are subsidized by public funds. So some examples of our government organizations are IATFs or Interagency Task Force. If you guys remember, during the COVID-19 pandemic, there was an IATF created, or an interagency task force for emerging infectious diseases, where DOH, or the Department of Health, was the lead agency of the organization. And LGUs, there's also an organization for LGUs, and GCG. There's an organization as well, GCGs, for government-owned and controlled corporations, which is directly monitored by the GCG, or the Governance Council for GOCCs. So the second kind of alliances or organizations are the private ones, the private organizations. So private organizations are owned and managed by individuals, groups, or corporations that are not affiliated with the government. They operate for profit, non-profit, or for philanthropic purposes and are funded by private resources. So, an example of these private organizations are, number one, organizations for businesses like the Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and an example of a private organization that's nonprofit is the Angat Buhay Foundation. It's funded by private resources, and it's for philanthropic purposes. And then the third one, this is an organization of private schools. So these are the two types of organizations or alliances in the Philippines, which are public and private organizations. Now, in one of our studies, it was um, it was found that there are challenges in alliance building or in networking. Primarily, one is regulatory constraints. Second one, limited resources, and third and fourth one, they're together, different priorities and communication barrier. So why regulatory constraints? So it was found that in the study of Baniga, it was found that stringent government policies and bureaucratic hurdles slow down project implementation and decision making. So in networking or in alliance building, regulatory constraints hinder successful alliance building between organizations. Another one is financial and human resource limitations. So many partnerships struggle with insufficient funding and a lack of skilled personnel affecting long term sustainability. And then the last one, or one of the challenges in alliance building, are divergent or differences in priorities and communication barriers. So, differences in organizational goals and sector specific jargon create misunderstandings and hinder effective collaboration. However, while there are challenges, Banyega was able to identify three best practices on how alliance building can be maximized. First one is supportive policies and leaders. Second is funding and resource mobilization. And the last one is the cross sectional knowledge sharing and training. So, the first one, supportive policies and leaders. Institutions benefit from clear internal policies that facilitate collaboration and a leadership that fosters inclusivity and shared goals. So, the second one, funding and resource mobilization, he found out or he suggested that access to diversified funding, including grants and joint investments, it strengthens partnerships and it sustains long-term projects built up from those alliances or linkages. And then the last one is the cross sectional knowledge sharing and training. So, regular dialogues, workshops, and joint research initiatives enhance mutual understanding and capacity building among partners. Now, how do we network effectively? So, how can we network effectively? First is explore, meaning you have to find out which kind of or what kind of organization we want to join and we have to join. And then second, we need to choose our target. So second one is target. So you have to target your time and effort to the group that best fits your needs and interests. So we should refrain from multitasking in networking. So parang if it's not relevant or it's if it's not of your interest, then it's best to just focus your time and efforts towards those that fits your needs and interests. And then lastly is to reciprocate. So networking is a process of give and take. So let's when we're trying to network, we're not supposed to just get or take information. We also have to share. We have to share tips, recommendations, and insights that benefit not just ourselves but others in the same group. So, moving on to the next topic is the participatory action research or participatory research. Participatory research is a form of action research taking its questions from the perceptions of practitioners within local contexts and building description and theories within the practice context itself and testing them there. Its only difference from action research is that in PR or in PAR, practitioners are subjects as well as co-researchers. So, in one of the studies I've read from Cornish, she mentioned there that PAR involves the participation and leadership of those people experiencing the issue, those who take action to produce emancipatory social change through conducting systematic research to generate new knowledge. So, sh- um, in Canada Conference of 1977, there were three main points as to how they define PAR or PR. So the first one is that it is a method of social investigation. Second one is it is an educational process, and the last one is that it's a means of taking action for development. So Participatory action research is a qualitative research methodology that involves researchers and participants collaborating to understand social issues and take actions to bring about social change. It is an umbrella term for all research approaches that engage stakeholders in each step of the process. So, according to Delve, a participatory action research it actively engages all relevant parties such as participants, communities, and others within or with interest in the issue being studied. So all of these entities are involved in defining the research problem, developing the questions, gathering data, and analyzing the collected data and preparing the recommendations. So, in simpler terms, this study engages those close to the problem, participatory, while striving to make positive change. So when I was reading about participatory action research, I remembered that it suddenly came to me that in one of our core functions in my work is a creation of coastal management strategies for vulnerable coastal communities. So when I was going through the process on how we create CMS for these communities, I realized that what we are doing is actually participatory action research. So first is before we are able to craft those CMS or coastal management strategies, we first interact with the stakeholders or those coastal communities who are most susceptible to climate change. So we ask for their feedback and there's dialogues going on to identify problems within the coastal area. And then through those dialogues, the draft of the management or the coastal management strategies are carried out together with the stakeholders, and then recommendations are made which they can use or implement in their communities to reduce the risks of or to mitigate the impact of climate change to these coastal areas. So as I was reading through participatory action research, I realized that it's a very important topic because it takes research or it takes research and provides action to it through participation, not just from the community but also involvement of the one conducting the research. So that ends my presentation. So to leave you with a question,